So today I just thought we'd take a look at this fan on this 8th gen Honda Accord that I have. As you can see here, I have a lot of play in this fan blade. It looks like a possible bad bearing or a bushing. And this is what it sounds like when it's running. And when it turns off. When I started hearing this noise, that's how I knew we had an issue. So we have 2 bolts at the top here. We also have to unplug it, and we have 2 bolts at the bottom. But we do have the splash guard on the bottom to take it loose. Any 10mm wrench here, I like using a small ratchet. Similar to this set here. That's not the exact set that I have, but it's one similar. I'm going to jack my cord up. You don't have to do so, but it makes it easier, and it definitely makes it easier for me to show these little push pins. So to remove this bottom splash guard, mine has 8 push pins to pull out. They may vary depending on if it's been pulled off and put back correctly in the past. But these things are pretty easy to work with, but just showing here that you can get sand and dirt built up and make these really tough to move the pin in and out. But still, with a screwdriver and this little tool, it's really not that difficult. And this is how these work. When the middle pin pushes in, it pushes out on those little extended fingers and keeps it expanded. And of course, pulling that center pin out releases it to be able to pull out. And just screwdriver and then the pry tool. I got these back here, and as well as 4 in the front, like so, where the bumper cover and the splash shield meet. I'm going to keep going. And back now I have removed all the push pins. And I actually have moved the jack. And I'm just showing how to do this here, holding the camera in front of my face here and just showing one hand how this goes. Of course, with 2 hands it's very easy. You just pull out on this bottom lip and then just pull this splash shield out of the bumper cover like so. Now this was a cold day. I actually would not put this much pressure pushing on it like this. By the way, it's a warm day, so I'm just holding the camera and forcefully pulling it out. But you can be easy and more gentle, of course, with 2 hands and easily pull this out without damage. And definitely be more careful when it's cooler weather. So as we push this back, I can get in here with the camera and show you. Here's the bolt on our left side. And then we have a bolt over on the right side, or the passenger side. I'll also take time to show here just for information. There's your drain plug or your drain cock for your antifreeze coolant. If you ever need to drain it, it's right there. I'm going to shine some light in here just to make sure the video was sufficient. Maybe you can see that better. So there's the right or passenger side bolt to loosen. Of course, the drain plug we talked about. And there's the bolt on our left side. So I'm going to show here that I use a 10mm flex head ratchet wrench, especially for this left bolt down here, which is hard to get to due to this bracket. If you can see the bracket right in front of me, you probably either need a deep well socket and ratchet, or you need a ratchet wrench similar to this Husky. It'll go on here and turn easy like so. You can see the frame there, and it just makes it easy. I'll show here some examples of some similar wrenches if you're interested. That way you can look them up for yourself. I'm just going to get this right side, loosen them both up. So if you look here, our plug has the little tab. I can push it in with my thumb and pull to release that connector. And also down here, the tie wrap is clipped in. That's on the fan shroud as well. So as you can see, I've already taken a pair of pliers and pushed in mine and pulled it out of that bracket. Now that we're done at the bottom, I'm going to remove my coolant overflow tank. Just gently pull off the hose and then pull up, and it comes out of the slot. It's kind of like a tapered dovetail slot that slides down into. Just set this aside so it doesn't fall over. Now we should be ready to remove the old fan. Just pull straight up. Make sure no wires caught, and looks like we're good. So just to show you there how that was slotted, so I could just leave them loose and still pull it up, whereas the top ones were captured. So that's what it looks like down there. And that's also the bracket that I had to remove the tie wrap wire restraint from. Let's set this down, and that's a better look at that tie wrap restraint. Zoom in there so you can see a little better, hopefully. That's all it is to that. You got to pull that off as stated, and then you just gotta, let's see, right here. There's the little tab. You just push that in. It is very difficult to get to, so I'm just showing a little detail about it because you can't really see what you're doing, but you can see what you gotta do. I am going to take time to back these bolts almost all the way out so I can take the new fan and slide it in fairly easy. Do the same on both sides down here. So just for the sake of the video, I thought I would buy this cheap fan and just see how it goes. And, you know, is it a good purchase or a bad purchase? We'll find out. So I bought this for under $70 from Amazon, and I did like that it's an all metal fan. It looked really close to my original Honda. Of course, you want to make sure your housing is a metal housing and not the plastic housing, because the metal housing is the AC condenser fan, and the left fan or the driver's side fan is plastic, and that's actually your auxiliary fan, your cooling fan. So I did feel fairly confident that this was the right fan after comparing and looking at mine. And of course, Amazon did say, hey, it fits your 2010 Honda Accord V6, because the 4 cylinders do have 2 plastic fans, by the way. And here they are side by side. You can see the one on the right, the one from Amazon, is slightly different. It is metal, and it's got the strain relief, and the connector does look pretty good. Look too bad. We don't have that same shroud on the back of the motor, nor do I have a place to put the old one on there, so we'll have to forego that for now if everything else works out. You can tell that's more of a generic housing, but they made it work for more than one application, I'm assuming. It's not identical, but again, it's not plastic. And just to show you here, that's the plastic one that goes on the driver's side. Even though I think the fan and motor are at least similar, if not the same, they are different housings, so it's a different mount. This fan does feel very good and tight. And let's put the old fan up here, and as you can see, look at that wobble. I did check, by the way, to make sure that that flange nut is tight. It is very tight on the motor shaft. I got no movement from it. It's definitely the whole shaft moving like a bearing or a bushing issue. So here is the new fan. Let's flip it around. Slots on the bottom. And there we go. We're going to slide it right in like this. I'm going to get it started, and I'm going to put the camera down so I can do it with 2 hands. Alright guys, so back underneath, I have it not only in place but tightened up. But I do want to point out I had an issue. If you can see down here at this very edge, I had a very rough edge on the bottom of this cheap replacement fan. And it did give me an issue because I couldn't get it fully seated. So I basically had to take my bolts all the way out and get it past the bottom lip on the radiator. And I'll try to get a detailed picture of it here. But you can just see from the factory, they just left that bad spot. Now there is some issues with the metal finish. Like there are some jagged edges, but that's the only spot that's that bad. If I would have known that was an issue with a flap disc, you could have took care of that pretty quick before you tried to install it. So just going to tighten up these last 2 10 millimeters, the ones easy to get to up top. And there we go. I plugged this in from underneath, but I do want to take time to show you. If you get one similar to this, or probably whatever brand you get, make sure your plug is secure. So mine looked good until I got it in here. And you got to remember, you're plugging this up with one hand. So as you're pushing it, trying to connect it, my connector was just popping off the little bracket holder. I'll show on the original fan how this works. See, this plug is connected and secured very well, and you can remove it and put it back on. They both should have been that way. Mine, however, was slipping off and it wouldn't lock on, and it's still not locking on correctly. So I could have worked on that outside the car when I could have gotten to it easier if I had known. So that's why I mentioned it in the video. And by the way, reaching in, as mentioned, the rough edges on these fan shrouds, yeah, they're very sharp. They'll cut you up. You have to be careful. I definitely would have cleaned that up with a flap disc. You know, careful not to let none of the filings get into the motor, of course. But probably another 5 minutes working with that would have been so much better. Maybe it was made on a Friday, didn't hit the finish department, I don't know. Not real happy about that, but I got to say it didn't cost a whole lot. Go ahead and put my coolant tank back in. Pops in like so. Connect the hose back up. Alright, ready to give it a try. Now I will definitely say that is how it's supposed to sound. That is how I'm used to this fan sounding. It got really loud and it was very obvious something was going on with that bearing to me when I rode in the car with my wife last time, so I definitely wanted to look at getting a fan for it. Even though the shroud is a little bit different, I don't know if you can tell. I can tell because I had to work on the alternator recently, but this is a top and bottom view of the old and the new. You can see the old one at the bottom and the shroud is different, and I have more room to reach around the alternator area. So just to keep that in mind, that shroud design is a little bit different. Now it's time to button up the bottom and get this splash shield put back on. And it's the same way. It's better to use two hands, of course. I'm just trying to show what I'm doing here, but I need to put the camera down really and just finish pushing this up in there like so. And also make sure the support that sticks out where I'm using my jack on the corner, make sure that goes through or that'll mess with you. So I've done it here on this passenger side, and I have the jack back up after getting that in place. Very easy to push these back in. It's probably more trouble lining everything up than it is putting the little push pins in. They snap in just that easy. So I got a few more to put in and finish. But just to mention here, these little kits are definitely worth it to keep around. You can get them starting for $5 or $6, and they come with many different sizes. I think these are some of the more common sizes. Yeah, I use this size right here on this Honda a lot. I also believe the Subaru uses this size as well. So I'm about to take this car for a ride just to make sure it does fine, because my wife will be driving it in the morning and I'll be at work. As you can see here, the fan didn't quite want to make it 100,000 miles. It was very, very close. And it may would have made it, but I didn't want to push it any further. Hopefully you could hear on video it was making a pretty good racket. So again, this is the fan I chose to use. I'm not recommending it. I'm just sharing the link for this fan if you want to look at the details on it yourself, because it's the one that I used in this video. So definitely research your options and what you think works best for you. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. So I'm going to have some links down in the video description of some tools and things that I found helpful. Any of those links that you click on are affiliate links, and they help support the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. So thanks so much for watching, and God bless.